Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Long time no see. I have filmed a few vlogs over the last couple months, however my hard drive got corrupted, which is awesome. So I will be getting that footage back and then making those vlogs again. But for the time being, I thought I would film a bit of a book haul. I have accumulated quite a few books between April and May. I have 19 books here with me. To be fair, I've only purchased 7 of them, and they were predominantly on holiday while I was in either New York in April, where I ran my first half marathon, or actually I just came back from 3 weeks in the south of France in Greece with some friends. So I have a few books from there. The rest of them were all very kindly gifted to me by publishers or authors. I can't believe that I've been gifted these books. If you asked me a year or two ago that I'd be given some of my most anticipated releases, I wouldn't believe you. If you're interested in seeing more frequent book content, I mostly post on my Instagram and TikTok, and that is where I share my recommendations, my current reads, that sort of thing. So if you're wanting to keep more up to date than this YouTube channel, please check me out there. But without further ado, let's jump in and start this haul. Okay, so like I said, I was in New York in April. I ran my first half marathon with my best friend and some of her friends that live in New York. Of course, while I'm there, I have to stop at some favorite bookstores. It was also the indie bookstore crawl while I was there, which is really fun. So Brooklyn had like a passport and you could go around to the different indie bookstores and get it stamped. I definitely went to a few there, and then I also was at the Strand and some others in Manhattan. I got 3 books when I was in New York. The first one I pre-ordered, and I have the other copy here with me, from Ireland, a special edition signed copy. Then when I saw the Strand also had a signed copy of the North American edition, I knew I really wanted to pick it up, and that is Open Heaven by Sean Hewitt. This is a gorgeous book. I read his memoir, All Down Darkness Wide, last year or the year before, and his writing is just utterly lyrical and beautiful, and his prose just flows so beautifully. And so this is his debut novel, and it's like a LGBTQ coming of age novel set in Ireland. I absolutely love a good coming of age. So I guess to pair with that, this is the one I got in New York, the North American edition with the pink spine and white cover, and that was signed at the Strand. And then the copy I actually pre-ordered a very long time ago from Kenny's bookshop in Ireland. The shipping was like a couple euros to Canada, and they have the most gorgeous special editions. So this is Irish European edition, also signed, if it focuses. And yeah, I love his work. I wanted both copies. I also actually pre-ordered a signed copy of Intermezzo from Kenny's as well in the fall, and had a great experience. So I definitely always go back and take a look. But those are the first 2 books. The next book I got in New York, I wasn't sure if I was going to get, because I prefer the paperback versions of this author's books. However, again, it was a signed copy and I couldn't walk away without it, and that is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. This is the Barnes & Noble edition, the gorgeous little end papers. And it is signed as well. So I happened to just walk into the Union Square Barnes & Noble like 2 days after the release, and they still had some leftover signed copies. I wasn't sure if I wanted to get it. However, the Barnes & Noble copy is pink, and I like it a lot better than like the orange normal copy, and it was signed obviously. And I bought Funny Story last year when I was in Australia, and so it's kind of nice like buying an Emily Henry when I'm away, and it kind of gives me a memory of the place I was in when I bought it. And the dimensions of this is like the same as the Australian Funny Story paperback. So the rest of my Emily Henrys are all like the normal North American paperback, and then these are the bigger size. But very happy with that one. Oh, also, I have already read this, Ate It Up. I thought it was great. I know there was a lot of discourse online of people either loving or hating it. I think the reason people don't like it is because it's more of a literary fiction romance than just like a pure romance, but that's what I really enjoy about it. I love the plot, I love the story, it's exactly what I wanted from it. So yes, that is my take. As someone who's not really a romance reader, I love a literary fiction mixed with the romance, if that makes sense. So love that one. And I'm currently reading Open Heaven. I'm like 50 pages in and really enjoying it so far. My final book I got when I was in New York is a book I've been wanting for a while, but I prefer the American edition compared to the Canadian edition. And this is a translated fiction called The End of Loneliness by Benedict Wells. This is a German translated fiction. I read it when I was in New York. This book is utterly phenomenal. It's one of my 5-star favorite reads of the year so far. It's about this man named Jules who loses his parents when he is a child, and then he ends up going to boarding school with his 2 older siblings, and then he meets this woman named Alva. I guess it's like a coming of age story with a lot of grief, and it is so well written. The translation is so beautiful. I think I cried reading this actually. And I don't really ever cry reading books. The end of it just says, a stunning meditation on the power of our memories, of what can be lost and what can never be let go. Highly recommend this. And that was my final book I bought in New York. Also, when I was in New York, I was gifted a book, and that was The High Dive by Chelsea Fagan. I met Chelsea, or I reached out to her, I think she reached out to me, and offered me a copy of her book. This actually just came out yesterday on May 27th. It is sort of an enemies to lovers, second chance romance, kind of set on a yacht in the Mediterranean. This is the perfect summer read, I must say. I read this pretty soon after I got it, and it is about a character, Alexandra, who went to Columbia University, and her entire friend group is very like rich and affluent, and she was not. She was there as essentially like a scholarship kid. And then the other person in her friend group who came with a similar background as her was a guy named Daniel, who she like fell in love with in university, and then everything kind of blew up once they graduated, and now all these college friends have reunited on this yacht for one of their friends' like bachelor parties before his wedding. This is just so fun. I like binged it very quickly, and a great summer romance, and I think this is her debut, maybe not, for fiction. Okay, so the next book that I was very kindly gifted, and then I also bought my own copy because I got a signed copy, and that is My Friends by Frederick Bachman. Oh my gosh, this is again one of my favorite reads of the entire year. I was so happy to receive a physical ARC. I had a digital ARC, but to receive a physical copy was just absolutely amazing. I cried. I keep saying I never cry when I read books. I cried reading this book. It is so wonderfully written, a beautiful coming of age. I think it's his first book that he actually wrote in English and wasn't translated, which was quite interesting. But it's about this girl named Louisa who was in like foster care, I guess, and then she's trying to find the man that was the artist of her favorite painting. And then it kind of just is such an interesting journey of her tied to this artist and his life, and oh, it's so beautiful. So that's the art copy, and then this is the signed edition I got. If it focuses, maybe not. Anyways, so I have both of these. I probably will read this again this year. I've only read this and Beartown. I definitely want to read his other works. I've heard only amazing things. So definitely want to finish the Beartown trilogy series, as well as Anxious People and his other work. And this came out earlier in the month on May 6th, so definitely recommend you to check that out. Now I'm gonna go by publisher. I still have some books that I recently bought, and I'll save that for the end from when I was in France. So first I'm gonna go with Zibby Books. They've sent me 2 books recently. The first one is A Girl Within a Girl Within a Girl by Nanda Reddy, and this is set in an Atlanta suburb, and it is about a woman, a mother, who is recounting her immigration tale from Guyana to Atlanta in the States, and everything she had to leave behind. Through the eyes of Maya's innocent younger self, we discovered the power of hope, empathy, and the possibility of beginning again. I love a family epic or saga of mothers and fathers, and the story of immigration, and just, yeah, the novel of identity, secret, survival, and reinvention. I'm really looking forward to reading this. I think it's going to be a great read. And this came out on March 4th. And then the other book Zibby Books very kindly gifted me that just came in the mail is called The Summer We Ran by Audrey Ingram. And this is out June 3rd. So this is a romance. It says for fans of Emily Griffin and Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's a page-turner, tender exploration of class, ambition, and the resilience of the human heart. This girl grew up, her mom was a cook of like a rich Virginia estate, and then she falls in love with the boy next door who is a high society class boy, and it is about their love back then and then as teenagers, and then 2 decades later, and they're both running for governor of Virginia, and secrets of that summer threaten to shatter their families, political futures, and the memory of the first love that shaped their lives. This sounds incredibly interesting, and I think like a perfect summer read as well. The next arc I was so kindly gifted is called Slanting Towards the Seas by Lydia sorry, Lydia. She sent this all the way from Croatia. It was so kind. I reached out to her, asked if she had any arcs left, and the publisher didn't, but she had some. So I'm so grateful that she sent this. This actually comes out on my birthday on July 8th, and this is sort of a coming of age lit fic set in Croatia, so spanning across 20 years in one life-altering summer in Croatia. Slanting Towards the Sea is at once an unforgettable love story and a powerful exploration of what it means to come of age in a country younger than yourself. I've only heard good things about this from other people online who have received arcs. Also just like an absolutely gorgeous cover. I am in love with it. I cannot wait to read this soon on the beach. Yes, and she also signed it. And she sent like some chocolates and a postcard from Croatia. And I'm a huge postcard collector and I'm in love. So excited. Then I have 3 books from Henry Holt and Co. This is such an interesting collection of books I'm super excited for. So the first one, Bad Nature, this came out on April 1st actually, and this sounds like such an interesting book centered around an unlikable female character. So the synopsis says, armed with a terminal diagnosis, a grudge, and a rental car, Hester sets out to fulfill her lifelong dream of killing her father in this brilliantly subversive and bleakly funny debut novel. This sounds utterly entertaining, sort of like a dark lit fic, I think. Not normally what I read, like in terms of like unlikable characters, but the plot sounds really fascinating. So very excited to get to that. And then the other 2 that were most recently sent. The first book we have is called The Hounding by, I don't want to butcher this, Zino Purvis. Well, let's appreciate this cover. Oh my goodness. This comes out on April 5th. The back reads as The Crucible meets the Virgin Suicides in this haunting debut about 5 sisters in a small village in 18th century England whose neighbors are convinced they're turning into dogs. What a line. I am so hooked. I'm normally not necessarily like a horror reader, but this sounds so fascinating, and again just kind of goes along the line of that literary fiction. I don't know, man, I'm so excited to read this. I think this would be perfect on like a summer night. The final book I received from Henry Holt and Company is called The Irish Goodbye by Heather Amy O'Neill. This is set in Long Island, New York, about these 3 sisters, like grown adult sisters, and it kind of just reads as this like absolutely dysfunctional family lit fic. One of their friends' brothers is killed, there's a lawsuit, they're eager to be back for Thanksgiving but each carrying a heavy secret, and it kind of goes through all that. And then it says far more than a family holiday will be ruined unless the sisters can find a way to forgive themselves and one another. So I think this is like an utterly dysfunctional family. I think they go through grief to navigate the passage of time together. This kind of reminds me of Blue Sisters, I feel like, just with the sister family dynamic. So I'm actually quite interested to see where this goes. I think this comes out on September 30th in the fall. I love a good dysfunctional family piece of literature, particularly in the fall. We'll try and get to this in the summer first before it comes out. But yeah, another one I'm very excited for. The next book is one of my most anticipated reads of 2025, and I cannot believe I received a copy of it, and that is A Language of Limbs by Dylan Hardcastle. This is a sapphic historical fiction, sort of coming of age, I believe, set in Newcastle, Australia in 1972, about these 2 women and growing up gay in the 70s and through the AIDS crisis. I just absolutely adore a gripping LGBTQ coming of age tale. I find they're so well written. The characters are so dimensional. First of all, also again, a stunning cover. So excited for this one. Thank you Dutton Books and Penguin Random House Canada for that. Now we have 2 from St. Martin's Press. They're actually both romances, I think, but I think more of this like literature romance. The first one came out on April 19th, I believe, and that is Things Left Unsaid by Sarah Jafari, and this is about a woman in England. For readers of Ma'am and Honey Girl, Things Left Unsaid is a mesmerizing and deeply felt exploration of discovering your place in the world and the lasting power of love. This is like a girl in her mid-20s. It sounds like a second chance romance, kind of, and she works in publishing. Sounds gorgeous. I don't read that much romance, but summer is the time for romance, so very happy with that. And then the other book from St. Martin's Press is also sort of a lit fic romance, and it is called Finding Grace. This comes out on July 8th, also on my birthday. The top line just says she's the love of his life, but crossed out love, and it says she's the secret of his life. It just says inventive, tender, heartbreaking, and redemptive. So I'm also incredibly excited to read this. Summer is the time for romance, what can I say? The next one is for fans of Elena Ferrante and Sally Rooney, and this is very kindly gifted to me by Spiegel and Grau, and this is called The Lake's Water is Never Sweet. This is an Italian coming-of-age translated fiction. This is also a debut novel, I believe. It's an unflinching exploration of girlhood, alienation, and class. So just the topic of class alone, set in Rome, this is very reminiscent, I think, of My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. I'm very, very excited to read this. I've read quite a few Italian lit fic recently, and I just love how the authors write and their description of the community and the neighborhoods that the characters are in. And this one is also out on July 8th. What a great birthday. So again, thank you to all the publishers and authors for the books they very kindly gifted to me. And now I have two final books that I bought on holiday. I picked these up in France from an English bookstore in Nice. So the first one is Mr. Salary by Sally Rooney. This little novella I've seen everywhere on the internet. I feel like we don't really have this at bookshops in Vancouver at home, so there wasn't like a huge selection at this bookshop, and I knew I kind of wanted to pick up something, so I was excited to get this. And then the other one I got is another one that I haven't really seen too much at home in Vancouver, and that is The White Book by Han Kang. This one was shortlisted for the Man Booker International Prize. Her novel The Vegetarian was the winner of the Man Booker International Prize. And so yeah, this is a meditation on color, beginning with a simple list of white things. It is a book about mourning, rebirth, and the tenacity of the human spirit. It is a stunning investigation of the fragility, beauty, and strangeness of life. So I've never read any of her works, but I've heard good things obviously about The Vegetarian. I saw this one, picked it up. We'll get to it soon. Oh, I wish you could see this stack of books I have. Again, I just want to say thank you to the publishers for the books they very kindly gifted to me. I cannot stress enough how grateful I am and how much I look forward to reading them all. And then also the limited books I've bought on holiday too, I'm excited to read. So if you read any of these, please let me know what your thoughts are for all these new releases coming up. I hope you're excited for them as much as me. 2025 is a great year for literature, so I'm very excited to see all these debuts and other works of art from these authors. Okay, so these are sorted by publishing date. Obviously these ones on the left I've already read. And then as you come across here, so A Girl Within a Girl Within a Girl, Bad Nature, and Things Left Unsaid have already been published. A Language of Limbs and The Summer We Ran are out on June 3rd. The Lake's Water is Never Sweet, Finding Grace, and Slanting Towards the Sea are out on July 8th. The Hounding is out, I think I said August 5th. The Irish Goodbye is out September 30th, I believe. And then the two on the end are the ones that I, again, bought on holiday and haven't got to yet. I hope I can get the New York vlog edited and then my vlogs from Europe edited soon. New York, I did go to quite a few bookstores, so I have some fun footage from that. And then the European vlogs are kind of just gonna be absolute vibe. We didn't like talk too much in them, but just gorgeous, gorgeous moments in the south of France and Greece, and I'm very excited for them. Again, if you guys have any book request videos, please let me know. If not, check me out on my TikTok and Instagram, where I publish a lot more. Post a lot more. Okay, thanks guys.